Round the fire, warm and bright, stocked up food for the night. Got our plans set in gold for the days when it's cold. Tools and gear stacked up high in the cabin we reside, listening to the winds howl, prepping for the morning's prowl. At the purpose fireside we stay, ready for that fateful day. Stories shared and hearts alight, round the fire every night.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Preppers Fireside, and this is a special where it's all about you guys and your questions. So as we get started, we do have some questions set up, so make sure you get your questions in the comments. I don't mind if you put your questions in block capitals just so I don't miss them, but try not to spam. Today I'm joined by Brian, the Scottish Prepper 73. How are you?
Hi guys, all good mate, all good.
And with a fancy new name, we have Roland, the Emerald Isle Prepper.
Correct. Hello and good evening.
How are you doing? What's with the name change? Do you want to quickly tell people?
Yes, you were asking me if I would not create my own channel. So this is the first step for my own channel and the picture as well. So yeah.
Yeah, the picture is very cool. It's very cool. I'll be like staring at that instead of looking in the comments. In the comments, we have Kelly. Hello, Kelly. How are you doing? Elusive Dartmoor. The Hungry Tourist is here. Stuart Lonnan. How you doing? Lady J is in the house. Miss Worm is here to police you all and got the whip out ready. Paul Thomas. Sweet. I don't want to try and say that wrong. Mr. Banghorn or Mrs. Banghorn from north of Sweden is in. I'm not very good with names like that, if anyone could pronounce that. Mark's in the room. Yeah. And Blue Self-Reliance is here and Bob Hunter. Thank you guys for all being here and hi to you all. I'm not going to read out all your highs because you're all saying the same thing. But get your questions in early and we will start going around the table with some of the questions we got in through the community post. And we'll start with the top. This question was from Natalie Griffin 7727. How useful is it to save cash? Will cash matter when the proverbial shit hits the fan? We'll go to you first, Roland. Do you want to answer this?
Yes. So cash in the first couple of weeks, probably yes. Afterwards, no. So it's depending on the time frame. I would say in the first few weeks, you should have at least cash so you can stock up on preps. Mm-hmm. And afterwards, if you have jewelry, gold coins, silver coins, and so on and so forth, it's always good at hand because this will never lose the value.
Yeah. It's the precious metal value is going to be there to somebody, if not everybody. Brian, what's your timeline on cash?
It depends on people's perceptions of the event. If we're talking about something catastrophic like a grid down event, after about 3 or 4 days, they realise it ain't coming back. Then cash loses its attraction and its value very soon because people don't ascribe any value to it. Mm-hmm. So I totally agree with the sentiment and its value. I would just a slight difference of opinion on timescale. I'd probably say 3 days to a week tops personally. Mm-hmm. And then after that is toilet roll of firelighters.
Yeah, I think it's, but you're both right. Nobody's wrong here, but I think it's personal to the person. You know, everything's one man's trash, another man's treasure, right? Somebody 6 weeks into SHTF will still be grabbing cash they see on the floor thinking it's valuable, right? Somebody's still going to see value in it. So it obviously depends the situation where you're in and if it's going to get better. There you go. There's the first one. Let's have a quick check in the comments. Ready Prepper 1 says cash worthless. Very simple. Do you mean now, Ready Prepper 1, or just?
I'll take any cash nobody wants.
If he has too much, he can give it to me or to Mike.
There you go. 24 litres, 18% booze for £10, 25 litres of water, 6 kilograms of sugar, a packet of turbo yeast, 48-hour bucket. I assume that's his bartering system. So, I mean, that's going to be more valuable after SHTF. That's assuming people are reasonably intelligent. I think she's referring to you, Brian, saying that they just realise there'll always be someone willing to risk taking cash. There you go. It'll make good firefighters, firelighters, I assume, not firefighters. But there we go. Just to have the female perspective, tampons will be a good trading item. Condoms will become gold bars. There we go. Right, that's interesting perspectives there. Let's have a look. Don't forget, get your questions in, guys, in the live chat, capital letters. You want to ask us if you want to ask an individual or if you want to ask us as a group, then just crack it in there, no problem. That one is done. It's going to be destroyed. The next one is from a username that rolls off the tongue, user BD9K 3FX 5X, one of those easy to remember names. How could you protect your home if you are bugging in? Ideas, please. Brian, I'll go to you first this time, and we'll see. Maybe not personal, but ideas for other people.
Right, that's better. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be cagey on this one, as Mike well knows.
Well, let's put this in perspective and say this user is average Joe. He doesn't have any bows, crossbows, weapons, anything like that. He has what household items he has. What ideas to protect your home if you're bugging in that way?
Protect your home from all aspect threats. That would encompass fire, flood, and people. So you could protect your home by securing the doors, making sure you've got bits of 2x4 ready to jam under door handles, jam across the doorways, pre-cut plywood sections that you can slide in the windows. So improvised shutters. You can buy, I'll send it to Mike to link later. There's a really good camera I bought, I've still to do a review on. I've tested it for the last few weeks. You can run it off a power bank. You run it off a USB power bank if the grid goes down.
Okay.
And it's got 360-degree pan and tilt, lights and audio both ways. So you could have it out the front, you could talk to people, tell them to go away. It's less than 40.
Can I ask how you connect to that then? If the grid down, it's obviously not an internet-based one. How do you monitor the camera?
Well, for myself, I would still have power to the router. It's Wi-Fi enabled, right? So it'll depend on your circumstance. But even you could do a direct connection to the camera with your phone.
Okay.
All you need is power to that. And the same little power bank would do both devices at a push. So
okay.
That option, fire extinguishers as well for fires.
Roland, anything to add on how you could protect your home if you're bugging in? Ideas?
Yes. The thing is, first of all, you should always have a second router packed away in your Faraday box, bag, whatever. Secondly, metal sheets for the door. Then foil for all the windows. Blackout foil, that nobody sees that you are at home. This is the most important thing, because if somebody sees light, let me say you have solar panels and you have light at home, everybody knows there is someone at home. If you cook at home, say no, someone is at home. Because when nothing is going and you are able to cook, everybody is smelling it. So you will paint a target on yourself, and hence you should have a door, the door barred, and depending on your door, if it's a glass door or it's a wooden door, a metal sheet behind it.
Can I ask you, like, in that kind of scenario, the metal sheet for the door, if I've not just got a door with a metal sheet attached, how does one attach a metal sheet to the door? in an essay? Is that something? It's just a case of you're going to be doing DIY for the first 6 hours of SHTF, or is there a quick
Yes.
doing it?
I have everything cut out for my door, and
Mhm.
if something is happening, I have echo screwdriver, and then the
Right.
screws are going in.
So it's pre-cut, pre-sized, everything like that. Okay, cool. I like that. Yeah, mine. I don't think I could really add anything onto that. What I would add onto that is protect yourself to a degree. Don't think whatever you put in place is going to stop an army of people coming through. So make sure there's a plan B. Make sure there's a get out. Yeah. If they start getting through the door, you and your little kitchen knife's not going to save the entire family. What's that? Sorry.
Door jam.
Door
A
jam.
door
Yeah.
jam?
Yeah. Things like that are great as well for internal doors to slow people down as you're getting out the back. So just think of your escape plan is what I would add to that one. Let's go to the comments because it says I've got 22 to catch up on. Sorry if I miss. Got a question there, so I'll star that one. There you go. Miss Worm says, try and block as much light as possible so your house looks unoccupied. That's agreeing with you there. Just scanning through here. Hello. Still saying hello. 3M film for your windows, says Paul Thomas.
The 3M film for the windows, it's for shooting and breaking. That the window is not splintering around. Makes it very hard to get through the window.
Yeah, you can get like a security film that's see-through for peacetime to go on the back of your window, right? So it's always on there, which is a good thing. Tristan says, I've been prepping only for a few days now, but we have to start somewhere. Well, welcome aboard. It's a slippery slope. Enjoy. Mark says a good tip is to make your house look ransacked to avoid roamers. The more your home looks untouched, secured, the more you become a target. Yeah, there's definitely a fine line there. Go ahead, Brian.
Have children, then your house will always look ransacked, mate. It's the perfect disguise.
Kelly has plastic sheeting to go over the windows to block the view. Wear bigger clothes, baggy, so it looks like you've got no food and you look like you're losing weight. It's an interesting one. I mean, that's the extreme. Full-on acting lessons going on for Mark.
I'd look something like Billy Smart's circus, mate, with the clothes I'd need to buy.
All right, I've started a few questions. The guys if you ask questions in the comments, I am putting a star on them. We will come to them as we get through these other ones. Okay, so we are there. And our next one. This is an interesting one. I like this one. This is from Outdoor Prepper 2025. What's the best repair you've used duct tape for? Roland?
Shoes?
Shoes. There you go. When it starts talking, do you mean? And the
When they are talking, put it in with duct tape. Yeah, but otherwise a tent. When my tent was had a scratch and the water was running through, duct tape against it. Yeah, it works.
Yeah. Cool. Brian, what's the best repair you've used duct tape for?
This is a blast from the past. Many moons ago, when I worked field service out of a van doing repairs, I was at a job like 4 hours from home, middle of nowhere, and had no parts to fix this machine. So essentially, the base plate had snapped in a distributor. So I jammed an old 3/8-part punch in the base plate, set up the points roughly, put half a roll of gaffer tape in it, and then left it running and told me to order a distributor. So that was it. That was my claim to fame with duct tape.
Well, I think mine has to be my foot. So that was I sliced my foot open on a beach playing football. It was a sand beach, and I was playing barefoot football, and I went down and kicked and hit a rock or a piece of sea glass or whatever it was. Cut me. Nothing. This was somebody else's car. I didn't have any of my preps with me, unprepared. This was when I was young, but there was a roll of duct tape in there. So yeah, that repaired me for the time being until I could go and get stitches afterwards.
That must have been a bit nippy getting it taken off.
I don't remember. I think I had gas and air by that point, so it was all good. We'll go one more from here before we go back to the comments. Miss Worm asked, our very own head moderator, most under-anticipated major health problem during bugging. So who wants to start that one? I'll let you jump in.
Sanitation, diarrhea. Sorry, on you go.
No, do you?
I was going to say poor sanitation with the toilets blocking up, or poor personal hygiene, dysentery, cholera, upset tummies, the full gambit. That's what people probably don't appreciate is a very likely outcome.
Yeah. Roland?
Every little cut.
Every little cut. Yeah.
Every little cut can kill you.
Yeah,
to be honest,
with an infection and so on and so forth. They both go hand in hand, right? The hygiene and the cut. I mean, both.
But in regards of the toilets, there are around. It looks like a balloon which you can put into the toilet, and you can pump it up. Then you don't have a backflow.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always worth looking into that one.
Do you know the name of them? Because I looked on Amazon for something like that, and I only found one, and it was like 60, 70 quid or something. It wasn't a cheap thing for an inflatable ball.
There's an easier way as well. If it's anything like our house that was built in the 60s, your main drains run along the back, and the outside cover, if you like, take that off, a 2-litre bottle of Pepsi, half fill it with water to give it weight, put a brush shaft in, use your duct tape to hold it in place, stuff it down inside it. The backflow from the sewer, including your neighbours on either side, can't come up, right? Also means you can't use your toilets anymore, but none of theirs is going to come up. However, you're then going to have to explain to your neighbours on either side that their poor sanitation will become your problem very quickly if they don't address it. So you're going to need to educate them as well if something goes tits up.
Yeah, this is the problem with the way housing's laid out in a lot of the UK, right? It's always going to be a knock-on effect when it's right next door. For that one, I'm gonna answer because I thought of this answer, but somebody did comment an answer on the original post, and it was toothache. Because it's one thing that is an absolute killer, and I've suffered with it, and I've suffered bad. And you can get the Oragel, the clove oil, all the little tricks, but none of them quite do that. But yeah, I wouldn't like toothache and SHTF. So yeah, that would be my one there. Let's go to the comments. We're 16 to catch up on. Let's have a quick look here. Just scanning through quickly, guys. So if I missed something, I do apologize. Still on the lighting, I think you can make inexpensive blackout canvas frames for windows as well. There you go. Brian, you can use duct tape to shut up the kids. There you go. Top tips there from Mark.
They're too big now to hit me. They can keep me up.
Good evening, Ronnie Rubble, who's joined. Bob Hunter, thank you very much for the donation. Here comes Bob. This is Surreal Bob, by the way, if you don't know Bob Rowland yet. He does sometimes comment some things that make you question your sanity. It's impossible to prepare for every scenario. No matter how many preps you have, I believe your biggest investment is your own soul. Any thoughts? Okay, I mean, that's kind of a question. So we'll quickly go around on that one. Does preparing your soul or the religious factor come into it for either of you guys? Roland?
Religious, no, but psychological factor, because in an SHDF scenario, and I'm talking now from a real one. Like I said, when 80-90% of the people are gone, and you are stricken with survivor's guilt. For this, you have to be prepared. You have to be sure that you want to do that you want to survive. You know what I mean? Because if you are so stricken with survivor's guilt, and let me say you are in a town with 20,000 people, and in this town only 10% survived.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about mindset with that situation. Does religious have any factor on you, Brian?
No, but I think you'll probably become very religious very quickly if shit's going downhill, I would think. Call me cynical. I think you'll find God very quickly. Biggest investment is your soul. I'll take that as a sideline of in your brain, if you like, right?
Yeah, your
So
mind.
how you've prepared yourself mentally, your common sense, and your skills that you've learned. So I'll agree with him on that one.
Yeah. I like the sentiment. I envy anyone who has true faith. It must be quite a reassurance. But what I would say is faith can't, if you're a prepper, faith can't overshadow your preps. Don't think, oh, don't worry. It's the old proverb of the guy drowning and a boat comes past to pick him up and he says, no, God will save me. And then another boat comes past, he says, no, God will save me. And that's happens a few times, and he drowns, and he goes to the pearly gates, and he asks God why you didn't save him. He said, "I sent you 4 boats. What more can I do?" So help yourself is the other on that one. Thank you, Bob, for bringing it to a different side of things. There, I love it. Let's just. I've starred Bob's. Let's just go through the previous starred ones. Elusive Dartmoor said, if it goes bad, what communication can you use for friends and family? Who wave your hand? Who wants to jump in on comms? Nobody.
I'll go. Well,
Roland,
when you go.
Go on, Roland.
Ham radio and mesh testing. So depending where your friends, family are, you should, if they are on board with prepping and not call you the crazy uncle, give them at least a ham radio or a two-way radio. If they don't can handle a ham radio, there are two-way radios out there which have a maximum reach of 36 miles or something like that. It would be worthwhile, I think.
Yeah. You agree with that one, Brian? Have you got anything to add on that?
All the systems that he said, 100%. I'm fortunate one of my brothers is very much on board. We've both got multiple handsets. And we're within radio range. And communication, make sure everybody knows the time to communicate and how you're going to do it. There's no point in having radios or anything else unless you know at 1 o'clock, try me for 5 minutes in this frequency of whatever. If you're not prepped in advance of what you're going to do, your comms are worthless. Yeah.
Excellent. I don't think I've got anything to add there. Smoke signals, maybe. Go on, Roland.
No, before, depending on the family, like I said, you should always have a meeting point made beforehand. So communicate beforehand with them. If something is happening, we will meet us on the 14th day at 12 o'clock at this gas station. It should help as well.
Yeah, I've said that loads of times. Like, prior planning is the key thing here. If all communication's gone, if it for some reason it's an EMP and everything's gone and we were all wrong on our Faraday cages and none of them worked and we're all in the same hit the fan situation, you need to have plans in place and multiple plans in place. Like Roland says, meet at this time, it's such a thing. But if that position's compromised, we will go to here. Meet everyone, come to this house. If this house looks like I'm not there, it looks like I've gone, I'll have moved on to this. Make sure you're careful who you share that with, and you're careful how you share that. It's all right giving them a laminated plan, but if they're one of the first ones to go and somebody finds this laminated plan, so try and think OPSEC as much as you can with that one. Lady J has asked, best fire extinguisher for home use. I've heard powder ones are a pain to clear up and can ruin your goods. Probably is not ruin your goods as much as fire, but a bit of a dusting. I don't know what the best is. I'm not an expert. Personally, I have a big foam extinguisher for normal fires and stuff. I have a fire blanket, and I had something else as well. Not foam, not powder. What's the other one?
CO2.
Yes, I've got a small, compact CO2 one. That's the one in the car. Thank you, Brian. You caught me on that one. Anything to add on that one, guys? I'm not an expert on that. Sorry?
Depends the fire, mate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if we're talking about a domestic fire, you want something that you can use in everything. So you could use a CO2 extinguisher on a chip pan fire, but if you used water or foam, it'll have a propensity to make the foam, you might get away with the foam, but if you put water on it, it'll flash and it'll spill over, the fire will be everywhere. Dry powder is probably your best bet for most home fires because it will cover electrical fires. You don't have to worry about breathing because CO2 will fill the room with CO2 and breathing may become an issue in an enclosed space. Worry about the cleanup after the event because it'll be a hell of a lot easier to hoover it up than it will be to sweep up your loved ones and their ashes. So as a good all-rounder, fire blanket and dry powder is your way to go. Yeah.
Roland, what's your thoughts on this? Because as you said in our podcast, you've been recently denied a fire ladder.
Yes, I am denied a fire ladder because of reasons. We have 3 fire blankets, 2 for in person size, so for us if we have to flee, and we have 2 fire extinguishers in the house. So 1 powder, 1 foam.
Okay.
I
assume nobody does water anymore, be purely based on the electrics going on around everyone's house now.
Well, when there is no electrics, you can use water as well.
Yeah, but it's probably not the best idea just in case.
You do get them, but you'll very rarely get them in a residential setting, and there's it's all right having a fire extinguisher and a fire blanket. Make sure you know how to use it first. Make sure it's in date.
Yeah, definitely. Can I just say thank you to Bob, who has become a YouTube member. Thank you, Bob. Let's have a look. Quickly scan through, see if there's any questions before we go to the list. If you guys spot any, then oil of clothes for tooth. Kelly I says oil of clothes for toothache. Dab a little on the tooth and pain disappears instantly. It's lies, Kelly. It's lies. I had a wisdom tooth that just laughed at oil of clove and it just turns minging.
In regards of the toothaches, there are sets for self-repair, tooth self-repair, and secondly, the book I sent to you, Mike. With the survival doctor, whatever. There are tips inside how to even remove teeth. Not repair, but you can remove it. Yes.
This is what Roland kindly said to me. It is a beast. I'm not going to lie and say I've read it all, but yeah, definitely great reference. There's some really good stuff in there. I will say with the repair stuff, personal experience, the stuff that you get that's like feels like clay is crap. It falls out straight away. You can get something called Credent on Amazon. Doesn't cost much. It's a little bag of plastic balls. You melt them in hot water. You mold it into the gap, and it goes solid. It is as strong as a tooth. It'll stay in there for 6 months. In an SHTF situation, it'll be a lot better than dust coming out your mouth every time you talk. A pair of pliers is what they used to use to solve toothache. There's Tony putting his 2 cents in there. There's loads of toothache tips coming up in the chat here. We could probably do a whole thing about toothache and medication with related to that. Cool. Right. Is Predent. Yeah, that's the one. Okay. Let's go to the questions from before. This one's from Scouse Prepper. Was there a specific situation that made you prepare or made you a prepper, or was it something you always did? Now, I know you guys have probably answered this both to me individually on Prepper Podcasts, but, enlighten us. Brian, do you want to go first on this one?
Yeah, sure. 2010, I think it was, with a bad winter in Scotland. Roads were all shut. Everything was pretty grim up here. Cars weren't moving. It took pretty much weeks to get the shops stocked up again. So I hadn't started prepping in earnest at that point, and I had to walk with a backpack about 3/4 to a mile up a hill through the snow to a Tesco that had a single lane, a single till, a couple of members of staff, everything sold out, people are getting tetchy, and it was grab what I could, filled a rucksack, and trudged through the snow again. And that was to try and make sure I'd food, milk, whatever else for 3 kids. And I vowed at that point I'd never be caught out again, so I ramped up. That was what made me start.
Muted, so I'll just talk to myself. Very detailed, yeah. Thanks for that. Roland, what's your situation? What started you prepping?
So for me, it's a longer story because my grandma, she lived through the Second World War, and she was telling me always how they had to flee from their hometown to a different hometown, and this was one. The other part was my the upbringing in the garrison city in Germany, where we knew that we would be nuked. And then when the pandemic hit, I was then all in and started really badly prepping, to be honest. But I prepped always before.
Yeah. I think mine was, obviously, I started doing research. I'm one of these that I'll watch a documentary and I'll get hyperfixated. So I saw something on the Carrington event, and then I literally started prepping with that in mind. And the same sort of situation where the pandemic came along, and that really put my preps to the test. And losing my job and having no savings for a month put my preps to the test. So that really, it took me from as a side interest to fully prepping at that stage, I think. So thank you for the questions, Scouse Prepper. By the way, Scouse Prepper, that was just on the screen there, has a channel. He's got 4 subscribers. He's brand new to the prepping community, so hopefully we'll get him involved with a lot more things. Let's have another one from here. Stuart Lonnan, 5355. And seeing it's on point. Oh, hang on. I've done this complete. He's asked 2 questions, so that was the second one. In your opinion, what is the minimum number of adults you need in a group to secure an area or homestead? Brian, we'll go to you first, because I know me and you have had discussions on this.
Depends the adults. The adults, first and foremost. If you've got 8 adults who are physically fit, that are in an age where they can remain active and alert, they've got similar training, background, likes, interests, preparedness to yourself, I would take them every day and all day versus 50 people who are not in that same ballpark. They might be older, younger, dependent, no skill sets. In my mind, they would be more of a burden, and they would put you at risk rather than they wouldn't add anything to the equation. So I'd rather have a known quantity in a small number than a horde of unknowns. You've muted yourself again, mate.
Sorry, it's because the baby's in the background. I apologize, guys. What's your thoughts on this one, Roland?
I think the most important thing is vetting. Vetting before you create a group in the first place, because if you have people in a group, like Brian said, which are useless, you need more people. But the thing is, you can't do it alone. So you have to be at least, and depending on the size of the homestead, at least 6 people, because you have to sleep at some point.
Yeah, I'd agree with that one. I was going to say a minimum of 4 to have 2 rotations of sleep and 2 teams of 2 in that kind of watch. But it all depends on the situation. If you're in a little 2-bedroom terrace house, that's a certain number. If you're in a huge stately home with grounds, you're gonna need somebody watching every direction. So it's all going to be situation dependent. But good question, Stuart. Thank you for that one. We'll pull his second point up because it was one big question anyway. He added on the end of this question, and seeing it's on point at the moment in the UK, would rioting in your town and city be the time to go and bug out? Personally, I think no. I think you can secure against that. I think when it got to a certain level, if it was the case they were ransacking personal homes, then yeah. But that's a long time into SHTF. They're going to target shops. If you're in a shop, if you happen to live above a Carphone warehouse, I know they don't exist anymore, but yeah, maybe bug out then. But other than that, no. What's your thoughts, Roland?
So for me, definitely not, because I'm living in a cul-de-sac. So I'm nearly at the end of a cul-de-sac. So what I would do is I would block off the whole cul-de-sac with cars, and
yeah,
then good luck coming in.
Yeah, deter them that way. Brian, thoughts on this one?
Where I live geographically, it wouldn't be an issue. I wouldn't think. I'm too separated from major towns for it to be a factor. But if it did become a factor, it would depend on the crowd, how you assess the risk, and you might have to do something you don't want to do to stay put, because you're leaving all your preps.
Yeah. It has to become the last resort, right? When you bug it out like that. Let's go to the comments. They're all talking amongst themselves as usual. Miss Worms posting links. Excellent. Elusive Dartmoor has another question. What areas in the UK do you think will be the worst place to be in SHTF or in a different country? So
2 questions.
Yeah, for me, it's just population centres. Does anyone want to expand on that at all? No, just population centres. That's pretty much it. Yeah, population centres. The other one to consider, it depends what you're prepping for. Civil unrest, it's always going to be population centres. I've had people on the podcast before who left London after the Duggan riots because they were right in the centre of it, and they thought, no chance, I'm not doing that. But if it was World War III, for example, then you might want to consider what air bases are near you. If you live next door to the Trident submarines, might be a consideration, so think about actual potential targets as well, is what I'd add on to that. And if in a different country means moving to another country, I'd probably want to move to another country that is a bit more liberal with what we can do. So that's would either of you two emigrate if it was an option to be better prepared? Yeah. No.
Yeah, I'd go to New Zealand.
New Zealand, just because it's a bit more neutral and nobody's going to do anything.
Yeah, I wouldn't go in the western direction, to be honest. But probably depending on the situation, if we would have a full-blown nuclear war, then going south would be the better option.
Yeah, because it's going to be northern hemisphere, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the south, so I think if you would go to Gran Canaria or something like that, you would be on the safe side, at least from the temperature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. There we go. So thank you for the question, Elusive Dartmoor. Kelly I has a question. Would you carry or store money? And if so, how much and in what form? This is similar to the question we had before with cash, I suppose. But is it part of your bug out bag if you have to get out, Brian?
I always carry cash. Case in point, I was working in Kendal this week, and there was an issue in all the cafes and restaurants in the main street in Kendal were saying cash only. None of them would take card.
Mm-hmm.
And when myself and my colleague were out having more dinner that night, the amount of people that were getting turned away because they had no cash, it was astounding.
Yeah.
So for lots of reasons, that being a case in point, always have cash.
Cash is king. Cash is king. Roland, would you like to add anything onto that? Like if you've got it in your bug out bag or?
So I'm one of the old ones. I have a card, yes, but I have at least always 200 euro in cash with me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's in my wallet. Then I have stashes around somewhere where is cash inside, because I'm always thinking a little bit in advance, because if something would happen, be it a grid down scenario, and the grid would come back after 4 weeks, you would have to pay your fucking rent. So I have at least for 2 months the rent in a stash.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's good. It's good financial planning, right? Even in peace times to have that kind of backup. Personally, I'm broke. I don't have any cash. No, I do. I tend to carry cash as much as I can for the similar sort of situations Brian says. I have started on the silver train, but only with scrap bits, going around car boot sales, picking up old commemorative coins or some of the coins that are 90% silver that people don't realize. So I have started to make a little silver hoard, and that will have a little stash in my bug out bag as well as at home. So that's my take on that one. Thank you for the question, Kelly I. Thank you for all the links, Miss Worm. This is awesome of you.
There are a lot of questions in the chat. At least one with a weapon, DIY weapon.
Okay, I'll get there at some point. I think. Sorry, I'm trying to read through. I made the mistake of just starting reading them in a previous live, and it didn't go well. So I've got to read them first, proofread them first. Any advice regarding storage for a really small space like I have? I live in a shared house. Oh, a shared house, that's even more.
Yeah, so I can chip in because I live in a flat.
Go for it.
So perfect. Every place you can have. So you have to be sure that you use every little space you can get. And if you don't have space in your house flat anymore, then start create stashes outside your house where only you know where they are.
Would you like to add anything onto that one, Brian?
Depends what they've got in terms of furniture. I mean, it's you're playing Tetris, but you've still got to live in the space. So it could be something as simple as replacing your bed with a bed that flips up, and you can use under storage.
Yeah.
Or
the Ottoman style beds.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, is that compromise between your wish list, what you would like to have at home, and what you can actually have? Mm-hmm. I mean, if you've got like a storage locker place that's a couple of miles down the road, as long as you've got enough stuff in your bug out bag, and that even might include something like a cordless grinder in case the place is shut up and you need to get in. So you could do that as well.
Yeah. If you do go for a storage unit, check it out fully. Make sure you ask the question of access if there's a power cut. You don't have to say grid down and I'm a prepper. Just say, if there's a power cut, would I still be able to get in? Because I looked at a unit and they didn't have a contingency for that. And I ended up getting one where they did. You could have a manual access and a chain to lift the shutters and stuff like that. So that's a key thing on when you're looking for storage. Small spaces. I've done a lot of things around kitchens. The fact you're in a shared house. for me, if I was a new prepper in a shared house, I would have to be very aware of who's on board, because that's more of a proximity than a flat. You literally got a bedroom door between you and the outside world. So either get your shared household on board, or like Brian says, think of a storage unit, because that storage unit is not just for storage. If you put everything in there in an SHTF situation, you'd be safer staying in the storage unit than in your shared room. Just my 2 cents on that one. Tony says, avoid the coast. That's where most cities and towns are. That's what I think that was about the thingy there. Sorry, we've got a starred comment. Bob has made a donation. Thank you, Bob. Much appreciated. SAS used to always infiltrate countries with a few gold sovereigns because it has a 5,000-year history of storing value and barter. There you go. Gold sovereigns. They're very expensive to get, though, as a new prepper. It's definitely a luxury prep, but it's a really good one. Thank you for that, Bob, and thank you for the continued donations and support. You're an absolute legend. Any forms of preppers? Kelly says, any form of prep is better than none. It doesn't have to be expensive, just clever. Yeah, and it costs nothing to plan, guys. It really doesn't. The government will put regulations on you even harder during SHTF. That's where it seems irrational to think you'll have any freedom to live in such ways. Okay.
I don't know if I agree with that.
You what?
I don't know if I agree with that entirely. That's hoping that they've got communication to talk to you and manage you anyway.
And that's allowing for the fact that Pete grunts will just say yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full, and not worry about their own family. The fact that you think government will still have control in that situation, I beg to differ on that one.
I don't think that the government has control at all in such a situation, because the army, police, first aider, they will take care about their own families in the first place.
Yeah,
they're struggling to maintain discipline and crowd control just now, and that's in separate sites across the UK. So if something went really peak tong, I think they'd struggle with command and control and even getting people to turn up out their homes.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're all on the same sort of page there. So interesting point of view there. Saturnian apocalypse. Elusive Dartmoor has a question. Can everyone do this? See where Elusive Dartmoor puts question in capitals first. If you do that, I'll tend not to miss it. It helps. What's the best prep you have? Well, I'm not going to ask Brian. With my power banks. We'll go to Roland first. What's the best prep you have, Roland?
My power banks, my both bows, my bow kit to fix my arrows.
This is a one. What's the best prep you have? One thing.
No, it's all. You know the meme with a prepper with a big bag?
Yeah,
that's me.
Okay. Right. So Roland's list is endless. All of his preps are the best preps. Brian, what's your best prep?
Myself.
Ooh,
because
he sat there and thought of that just so he didn't have to say EcoFlow 2 Delta Max bloody.
If I didn't speak to you guys or other people or read or look up videos or try and practice things, anything I buy is superfluous because I don't know how to use it. So there's no point. So I would always say the individual's probably more important than anything that you'll accumulate, first and foremost.
Yeah. I will agree with you. And a caveat to that, Miss Worm has answered for me. Getting as fit as you can. That's one of the best preps. Yeah, that's one of the best.
Yes.
The best prep I have is fitness and knowledge. And my fitness has gone a bit. It's not as great as it was, but it's still enough to get by. But yeah, my knowledge and my fitness are the best preps.
Yeah.
Not a physical item.
And your health.
Yeah. And I think that knowledge, skills, and the right mental attitude them 3 things that don't cost anything, them 3 things are the best prep you'll ever have. And I will pitch anybody with them 3 things against somebody sat there without them, but loads of equipment. Yeah. You just got to not just buy stuff, you've got to do. Nelly Onland has joined us. He's playing catch up. How you doing, Nelly? We've got an answer from Saturn. It's called a failed state. That's when certain areas put in stronger laws and other areas are in chaos. Well, yeah, I get what you're saying, but it's still heavily reliant on people, right? What do you think of this? Anyone got any additions to add to this?
Kinda.
Right.
Just because a smaller big state is trying to organise itself in society again, that doesn't preclude you from doing the same thing in your own village, your own town, your own social circle. You could have your own mini state within a state and grow from there. The rule of law could be re-established and coordinated at a local level, starting with you and everybody in this group.
Yeah.
Why wait?
Yeah, true. It's very true. Bob says his best prep is cat food. There you go. Not only for the cat, you can eat it yourself. And don't look at me disgusted like that. They don't have cat testers for the taste of cat food. They have human testers. It is a real job. Stuart Lonnan says Brian's is his cache of Frey bentos. That's your best prep.
Sign me out.
But he wanted to keep it secret. Tony agrees knowledge is the best prep, and I believe, and it's free. There we go. Ready Prepper 1, with all that's going on in the UK and we're seeing the start of an SHTF, or will it all phase out with time? People are really angry in every city as we speak. Yeah, so I was looking at this just before we came on. I say looking, I was glued to 3 different streams for an hour and a half. Is this the start of something, Brian? Or
not at the moment? I don't think so. Although, having said that, it could be blindsided and it's a catalyst to something greater. My gut instinct is no. It's arseholes, for want of a better word, taking advantage of a tragic situation to cause trouble.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me. It seemed when it got to the stage of looting, it was the youth. Roland, you're not immune to this. There's I've seen a few clips of some of the immigration protests going on in Ireland as well. Do you think this is the start of something? Is this a catalyst? And if nothing changes, are we going to end up SHTF?
I don't think so. I think the government will double down.
Mm-hmm.
With all that, they will quell the riots or uprisings or whatever and try to calm the population. But the thing is, we always have to see. We were talking today in WhatsApp. If I'm, as a German, moving to Ireland, I had to get into the cultural differences between Germany and Ireland. I had to speak a different language. Mm-hmm. And this is what everybody should do in a different country, because if you're alien in a country, you have to take on the culture of the country where you're in, and not differently.
Yeah.
And that's my opinion.
Well, what you're saying is pretty much why the whole anger is starting in the first place, right? Nobody's saying the anger is not justified and the protests are not justified, but when it turns into kids just looting phones and iPhones and stuff like that, it's ridiculous. But yeah, hopefully, I have no faith in our government at all, but you know, we will see what happens. Hopefully it won't be Ready Prepper 1, but be prepared just in case, of course. Paul Thomas, could we have a map of where we all live, so if we have to bug out and we have a rough idea, we could stop off which way, north, south, east, west? No. Next question. Well, I kid, but OPSEC's a big thing to a lot of preppers. And it's the reason in this country why getting a mag is so difficult. Because the people that you already trust around you think you're an idiot or a crazy person for prepping. And the people that are on board and who know usually live 100 miles that way, 80 miles that way, 250 miles that way. So my advice, Paul, is start networking, start communicating. I'm going to the prepper meet on the 16th of August. It's on a previous video, so I'm not going to give you all the details now. But when I'm there, I'll get to know people. You never know when it might be somebody that's down the street. And I've got to know quite a lot of these guys, like Brian. I mean, I don't think I'd turn up at his door because he wouldn't part with pies for anyone. But I know if I was en route to one of my bug out locations, I would more or less pass him. And if it was really dire situations, I think I could call around for a water refill.
100%.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what I'd say is network.
Yeah. And the thing is, like I said before, if you take people in a group, you have to vet them. You have to look how they are reacting, what they can do, what they cannot do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, and only when you are 100% sure that you can trust them, then I would give them a address or something like that.
Yeah, nobody's going to publish a map online for anyone to see. If nothing else, the government will come knocking, taking our supplies, if you believe that. Miss Worm says, behave. I'm not having you lot turn up on my doorstep demanding to share my spam. That's the biggest concern of all this lot turning up on your doorstep is spam, Miss Worm. You're quite naive. Whiskey Jack J. Can we all relocate to the wilds of Scotland? Will they let the English in? Right. I'm going to hold off and let Brian have this piece in a minute. But I'm going to say to you, go and spend a week in the wilds of Scotland. Go and spend a week in the wilds of Scotland in January before you think of bugging out there. Yeah. There's people that do survive up there who have been specialists at it for years. And like, they're using traditional Highland methods from years ago. Everyone's got this notion of I'm going to bug out to the Highlands because I'll be safe. You'll all die of hypothermia and starvation or poisoned by something in a week. Brian, would you like to add to my rant?
That's 100% accurate. The perception of turning into bear's grills overnight with stuff that you've had in a rucksack that you've never ever used, you've never tabbed anywhere with a pack on, your kids are screaming and crying and they're cold. All you've done with a 72-hour pack is give you 72 hours to die in a cold, wet, miserable environment because Scotland pretty much pisses with rain 9 times out of 10. It's cold and wet. However, that's not to say that you shouldn't scout out bug out locations. And there is bug out locations up here. But make sure you would know how to use them. Make sure there's enough resources round about you. And make sure you've got good kit that you're familiar with. And in that scenario, 100%.
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, you're not in Scotland, Roland, but I assume Ireland is quite... I mean, I've been there a few times, and there's quite a lot of rural areas as well. Do you think if there was a real big problem in England, people would start jumping on dinghies and coming over there? Would that be an issue?
I don't think so.
No.
They let me in, so
That's it. Anyone can get in. No, that's cool. Yeah. So just practice and don't just plan on the back of your mind. Go scout these places out and have a really good think about it logically. Just scrolling through here, guys. Miss Worm did say if you can put it in capsules if you've got a question, it'll be a lot easier. Elusive Dartmoor says I've been camping and survival all year round. It's not an easy thing that people think is the biggest thing to find is food. Yeah. So yeah, and once you add the Highlands and the weather up there into the mix, it's even crazier. Paul Thomas says, try wild camping in Scotland and the police move you on.
That's not true.
No, wild camping, the police will move you on in the UK, but not in Scotland. Now, there is areas, like, for example, I'll just pull out Loch Lomond, for example, and there's wild camping areas on that are seasonal. And all that means is you've got to go onto their website and say, I'm going to camp here for this week. It's
You
like
can apply for. Sorry, on you go.
No, go ahead. You probably know better than me.
That's for national parks. So because of all the damage that was getting done to the national parks, they put bylaws in place that within so many feet and 100 feet of Loch Lomond and other parts of the national park, you couldn't camp there, wild camp, outside approved sites without a permit between like the April and October or something like that. But the right to roam was brought in years ago. That doesn't give you the right to camp, right? But as long as you're respectfully landowners, I mean, if you tip up into somebody's front garden and put a tent up, right, chances are you're going to be dragged out by the throat. However, if you're out of sight, out of mind, you're not setting fires, you're taking all your shit home with you, nobody will bat an eyelid, right? But up here, what we get a lot of is people buying cheap shitty gear out of Aldi, turning up for a weekend, filling a tent with empty bottles, booze and shit, literally, and then leaving it there. So that's why it's becoming a bit of a problem now. It's not that people don't want visitors and they don't want to discourage making the most of the environment. It's they don't want to take responsibility for just take your shit home.
Yeah. Listen, guys, leave no trace. It's not just a good thing for the environment. It's a good practice to get into if you ever do have to bug out and you ever do have to go across the country. Yeah, every trace you leave is a way you can be tracked. So practice it when you go camping now. Just leave no trace. It should look like nobody's ever been there, apart from possibly that weird coloured square patch of grass where you've been sleeping on all week. Do you have wild camping in Ireland, Roland?
No, we have camping spaces. Our group is meeting always in a camping place.
So is wild camping illegal there, the same as England?
I don't know the laws actually.
Okay.
So I can't speak to this. But our group, like I said, we have monthly prepper meets where the hardcore group of the group is actually meeting up and then have a nice weekend.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm lost where I'm at now. You're all throwing me off. I'm going to go to one of the previous ones so we get through the ones that we're on because we're already at an hour and I don't know when you guys have got to leave. So we'll go to the ones that have been pre-written. Phil Whitehead 8706 said, anyway, question for you. Have you done any random tests as in bug out scenario, emergency happened, drill for your family, or would that be taking it too far? Do you practice, Roland?
Yes, I did. But the thing is, I can't test with my children because my children are back in Germany. But we made, like I said, with pre-prepared routes and so on and so forth. If something is happening, they are all getting onto a boat and coming to Ireland. To stay with me.
Cool. Do you practice much, Brian? Do you test your preps a lot?
Yeah, I've had all my children can fire a crossbow, and my wife, and all of them can fire a 12 gauge. And then all of them can use, well, my wife and my son have helped me practice with the radios. And I make sure they know where everything is. And if anything was to happen to me, where things are and how important things work.
Cool.
Because I might not be here. I might not be able to get home. Yeah,
that's the thing. That's kind of what I've trying to instill now of you always stay here. I will make it to you. As if I'm 90 miles away, it might take a week. So you need to be ready to be able to do these things. I've not done drills with the family as in SHTF situations, or at least told them that, but I have always took them camping and I've always made them self-sufficient when it comes to camping. So a lot of these skills are transferable without power. So that's the kind of thing. But I would love to turn the power box off for a full weekend and see how we cope. I might get divorced at the end of it, but it would be interesting. I don't think it's too far as long as you don't scare kids. Getting them involved can be fun. Make it fun. That's the main thing. Thank you for the question, Phil. Let's go back to you guys have mentioned, you've mentioned a question that I just can't seem to find in the chat.
I have posted it in our chat.
Yeah, I've seen it. Is that the actual post?
Yes.
You've written. All right. Okay. I'll copy and paste it into the comments so everyone can see it, because I can't find it to highlight it. So, Sharon Day said ideas for DIY weapons from Pinterest is 20 kick-ass DIY weapons for survival. These might be helpful. It's not really a question, but
I can speak to it.
yeah, go for it, definitely.
Because I'm a little nerd, so I have a 3D printer, and there is a website out there which is called Thanks. And on Thanks, you can download 3D printing plans. And there are several plans where you can create a crossbow, the Death Adder crossbow, which has a magazine. And you can also create the repeating bow.
Yeah.
Thingy.
Like the constant bow, yeah.
Yeah. So for our preppers, I would say prepping and 3D printing goes really good together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cool. Brian, DIY stuff. Recipe for disaster, losing a finger in SHTF. What's your thoughts?
Given it's a hypothetical scenario when rule of laws doesn't apply, then you want force multipliers and distance creators. So something like a packet of kitchen knives and some gaffer tape and a brush shaft.
Yeah.
Most people wouldn't want to get close enough to do something with a bread knife. However, if you add 4 foot of wood on the end of it, you'll get an improvised spear. A lot of people don't want to come near that. So thinking outside the box of what you've got at home and create distance and reach. Yeah.
For me, we're always talking theoretical and hypothetical on this channel, so it's only without rule of law, as he says. I'd love to get into the 3D printing like Roland does, but I'd have to fully test it. I don't think I'd trust it for the first time when I needed it. I'd have to use it all the time, which is cool. I'm sure they're really good. But for me, while we're in peace times and while you can get, I would just concentrate on equipping yourself correctly, because every man and his dog's going to be improvising weapons in that scenario. And it's better to have something tried, tested, and something that's going to be better than his broom handle with a kitchen knife on. If you come across Brian sweeping and stabbing down the street.
But what people are always forgetting in a real SHTF scenario, probably a year after it happened, there is no ammunition anymore. So people have to go back to bows and arrows and crossbows and knives and swords and machetes, and you know what I mean.
I think people are more inventive than you think, though, and a recipe for black powder is not difficult to find when you've got abandoned libraries and things like that. So I do think there'll still be something, maybe few and far between, but I think if society rebuilds, the first thing we'll invent is another bullet. Gary Crawford says, will there be a meet in Scotland? I can't tell you, but I plan to hopefully have one at least on the border, so people from Scotland can attend and people from Northern England can attend. I'm going to go to this one that's in the Midlands, speak to the guys and see how involved they want me, but either way, keep your eyes peeled on that one. Bob Hunter said he wild camps all over Scotland, never had a problem. our friend Saturn has a question. Prepping channels on YouTube typically try to sell you products you don't need. Correct? Question mark for that one. Scams, many are, only some are truly helpful. Well, okay. I don't try and sell you things. All right. I used to stock military surplus and sell it at car boot sales and flea markets and stuff like that. I've never set up a prepper shop. I've got all the wholesalers, I've got all the suppliers. I could do that. I use Amazon affiliate links. What I earn off that is pence. Amazon earned £2,500 off me so far. I think they've paid me 40 odd pounds in total. You literally earn pennies on that. And I don't post anything that I don't recommend. I've give bad reviews and stuff like that. So personally, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm trying to help. The more people we help prepare, the less people we have to save. And personally, for selfish reasons, the more people prepare, the more chance I'm going to have of getting a decent mag. Brian will try and sell you Pepsi all the freaking time, though. So I don't trust him as far as I can throw him.
How could you say such a thing about the smooth taste of Pepsi Max?
Roland, do you have thoughts on this?
The thing is, most of the prepper channels, which are selling something, they are doom and gloom channels. Let me state it like this: they use the doom and gloom to sell their stuff. If it's a good stuff or if it's good stuff or bad stuff, I don't know. The problem is, even when we are preppers, we are preparing all for eventuality. Nothing is sure. It could be that we prepare and we can throw out our stuff in 5 years' time because it's gone bad, to be honest.
Yeah. Do you want to add anything onto this one, Brian, apart from your cheesy Pepsi advert?
Right. I totally get what it means. And this is a timeline of what happens. All of these channels have started out with a laudable goal to help people and promote a way of preparing for unpleasant things. And then as they get popular, they get freebies and stuff to demonstrate. And then they get more numbers and they get more stuff. And then they get more shit and more sponsored ads. And then it becomes clickbaity and sell their soul. And it becomes fear-mongering. And that's every one of the big channels that you see, 99% of them have all started out that way and they've all went that way. However, what I would say is, and I'll doesn't bother me, I'll say Canadian prepper, I don't give a crap. Nate's channel has got nuggets in it. If you get past all the fear-mongering and all the crap, a lot of the stuff in it has got value. It's just you've got to separate the commercialization aspect of it, because the guy's made a business out of it, and it's not just him. But a lot of the stuff that he's got on it is polished, it's well made, they're for knowledgeable people. You've just got to filter out the bullshit and choose what works for you. But on the understanding that at some stage it's became a business, okay? But that doesn't mean to say the information is worthless.
Yeah.
You've just got to filter out the fear-mongering and the commercialization. But don't ignore, just, still look at the content.
Yeah, Lee, who owns the Bug Out, has a YouTube channel, and his YouTube channel is great, and he's got quite a funny guy, and he has a business with it, but he doesn't sell crap at the end of the day, and he'll give you honest answers and stuff like that. So I've no problems with people making a living. If you can make a living on YouTube, fair play to you. I was buzzing when I hit 1,000 subscribers that that many people wanted to hear me chat rubbish. So that I'm happy with that. Anything extra is a bonus. So. Watch this space. Get me to 1 million subs, and we'll see if I turn into a advert hoarding, fear mongering, selling.
To throw something in, the most important stuff, what a lot of American channels do is providing informations. What I always do every day is I watch Twitter or X or whatever it's called today. And follows there's a whole OSINT group, which is on Twitter. Yeah. And information is the most important stuff for us preppers anyway.
Yeah, definitely. Like Brian says, even the ones that are selling you stuff, you're a big boy, you're a big girl, you're a big penguin, whatever you identify as. You can ignore adverts. YouTube puts adverts
Right.
in. Oh, what a waste of Pepsi!
Thanks for that.
That's gonna get
Stickers or quitters.
That's gonna get snipped out as a highlight. No, but you know what I mean. There's adverts on telly. You don't ring Coronation Street up and complain that they put an advert on halfway through and they forced you to buy 7 packs of Tide washing powder or whatever. It's just see past it. Yeah. Wolfenstein, trust me, folks, Loch Lomond is a midget fest. Midge fest. Oh, Jesus. That's me banned. Midge fest. Avoid like the plague. There's nothing wrong with midges. Wolfenstein, they add protein to the coffee in the morning. Tristan says, my girlfriend thinks I'm hoarding food and doesn't really unsure understand prepping maybe. I've shown her a few of your videos, but I'm still weird apparently. Should I abandon her? Should I abandon her?
Yeah, totally.
No,
The big shot. It's time for it to go.
no.
We are not advising that.
The thing is, you have to get your partner always on board with your hobbies.
Mhm.
Be it, it's easier then. I would talk with her about why you are doing it and the reason for it. You know what I mean? And then maybe she's going on board. Give her time.
Yeah.
She will come.
Yeah. You just put up with the eye rolls for a while. That's what I'd advise. That's the thing. It's just, it's a hobby at the end of the day. That's how you sell it. It's a hobby. Would you rather me go out drinking and all that lot? Sell it as a hobby, but people have very short memories, right? People have very. I thought you were doing that, Roland, because I was muted again. I thought, how long have I been muted?
No. My girlfriend came in and said, he should tell her it's for camping.
Yeah, you go. Exactly. There you go. It's camping. It's you sell it how you want, but at the end of the day, the pandemic was not that long ago, so it's not that hard to convince people. Do you really want to queue at Tesco, 5 meters apart from people, coughing? Again, no. Let's just keep a stockpile just in case. We've got a ring binder of doom explains things for Mr. Worm, like where I keep the washing machine. And how to work it, I hope, Miss Worm. Kelly I has a question. Where do you place the generation of electricity in your prepping list? Go ahead, guy. I'll sit this one out.
On you go, Roland.
No, go you. It's your turn.
It's Brian's forte.
Me personally, it's number one because it's the convenience of everyday life and normality, and I put a lot of weight on keeping that. So I've spent a few quid on that's an understatement, on trying to make sure that's the case. So, but you can do it at a basic power bank level, 20 quid, or you could go full retard like me. So never go full retard. Let's never go full retard. But no, I put a lot of weight on power purely because in everyday life going wrong without a disaster, it'll make my life a lot easier. Yeah.
And if you're offended by what Brian just said, take it up with him afterwards, but it's a movie quote, so get over yourself. Roland, I'll go to you because you two are probably more higher on the list than me.
No. I have 2 generators. I told Brian about them. I got them only for the fridges. That's the only reason I got them. Yeah. And for my 3D printer and for my whole network, because I have a network attached storage at home. where all the plants are on. So if I have to restart something, everything is not only on printed, it's also in digital form. And so I can actually send restart for real.
Cool. Right. Well, these two are wrong and I'm right. No, I'm joking. It's low down on for me. It really is. I have power banks and stuff like that. I do, when I move house, I do want to get some sort of generator, but it's never been high on the priority list because I've based my prepping for grid down on living without power. And it's based around that. Old ways of preserving food, old ways of salting meat, old-fashioned ways of heating, and everything like that. Everything based around that. I did reenacting for 1860s Civil War when there was no electricity at all, and it kind of gave me that mindset through there. So that's been my prep. What my preps have been centered around for a grid down situation. When I move house and money's more of a luxury, there might be a bit more put into power banks and generators, and it would be a bonus. But I strongly believe, even with all of them, that's still a finite life. If the power doesn't come back on nationally, then you're going to have to live without it at some point. So that's why I do that. But that's just me. All prepping is theoretical. Yes. Everything we talk about is theoretical. Thanks for pointing that out, Saturn. Actually, no, hang on. I'm going to go back.
I disagree with that.
All prepping is not theoretical. I lost my job and had no money and had to eat my preps. That's not theoretical. I have power cuts for 2 days sometimes where I live. That's not theoretical. You can prep for day-to-day life. The theoretical side of it is the SHTF situation, the Teotihuacan. Was that what you were going to say, Brian? Sorry, I really skipped past that and thought of the answer as I skipped past it.
I was trying to get the words out and say, no. And it's not to be pedantic, and his opinion's got as much value as you, me, and everybody else, but I'll say theoretical as a caveat for certain things because these are public channels and you could be judged on it.
Mm-hmm.
But every power bank I've got has got dual use, whether it be power cuts or from a camper van. Every prep you've got, food or whatever else you've used, and I've used, whether it be a power cut or we're a bit short 1 month or whatever, or we've had COVID. So it's not theoretical.
No,
and
it's definitely not. I had a medical box under the sink, like a lot of people have maybe in a different place. A kind subscriber sent me a gift of the one that I reviewed, that big Medipack. You guys have seen that on the channel. Since I've had that, I've used it 4 times and it's come in very, very, very handy. And it was bits that I didn't have before. That's a prep that is not theoretical. So would you like to add anything to that? Our little rants there, Roland?
No, it's the thing is, the scenario we are prepping for, it's theoretical. So this is true. But if something is happening and you need the stuff, it's not theoretical anymore.
Yeah, that's it. I've just got to click through before it disappears. Bob is like, honestly, he's just like this, throwing money at us at the moment. He donated £5, really appreciated, and said, the best answer to anger is silence. I do like that one. The missus will not agree with you, though.
No. For men, you always have to selective hearing, because when your missus is saying something, you can select if you want to hear it or not.
Yeah, and you can select if you want to sleep on the sofa or not as well. Bob also donated £10. Thank you. Mike, you're a legend. No, you are a legend, Bob. I really appreciate you. We appreciate you and your gentle wit. That's why I like you. Thanks, Mike, Brian, Emerald, and Miss Worm. At least we are trying to make the world a better place. Keep prepping, guys. Yes, Bob, thank you. You are awesome. Really appreciate it. Bob's practically the patron of this channel at the moment. Mr. Firestorm, I have over 10,000 rounds of ammo, 3 different calibers, 9mm, .22, 5.56, all stored inside an average size closet. A century from now, private US citizens will still have usable ammo. Yeah, but I don't think it'll be the guy with 100,000 rounds, because you can't fire all 100,000 rounds. And unless you've networked right and you've got the right preps in place, that can only do so much. And again, we're UK preppers, so it's a very different situation over here. Brian, you wanted to jump in?
It's a societal difference. So he's got 10,000 rounds, which is probably not an unrealistic number for most, not even preppers in America. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I'm very pro-gun.
Mm-hmm.
But we are very restricted in the UK on what you can have. And you've got to have a bloody good reason for it.
Mm-hmm.
And even being on channels like this could risk your certificates. So
yeah,
hence why I'm somewhat cagey on occasion. And what I say.
Roland, do you want to add anything on that one?
Yeah, I was back in Germany. I was in a shooting club and I had my own weapon. But when I left, I had to give them away because of reasons. Because I stopped sport shooting, and I find archery better anyway, because archery is more a mental thing, which is preparing you for more.
Yeah. I've literally just joined an archery club because I thought I'd best start honing some skills. It's the same with everything. It's practice, right? Whiskey Jack J says, Berkey water filters. What do you think? Water in my preps is the one thing that bothers me. Now, I didn't know till recently, till somebody made a smarmy comment on one of my videos that Berkey is a brand. Because I always use Berkey as in the reference to the British Berkfield. So it depends what you're talking about. But yes, the Berkfield water filters, I think, are brilliant. Overpriced, but instead of the big chrome ones, you can get white plastic ones. They're hard to find, but they are 2 big square drums on top of each other, exactly the same, just hasn't got the chrome finish. It'll save you a lot of money, does a lot more water. That's as far as I've gone. I've got the Berkey, I've got the Life Straws, I've got enough water sterilization tablets Army issue to sterilize the Thames. And that's probably where I stand on water. And obviously I have backup plans for, like, if the water is going to be cut off, fill the bath and all that lot. We'll come to you last, Brian, but because I think you've got both you and Roland have got decent water storage, though. Roland, you live in a flat, but you've managed to sort out water. Do you want to explain?
Yes, we made a rainwater collection system with 1,600 liters now.
Yeah,
in total. And I use at home, I use a Berkey.
Yeah.
Yes.
Brian?
So,
sorry, go on. Are you finished? Carry on. Brian, what's your water situation?
I'm sorry, I thought he was finishing. I keep water filter sterilizers, but I also keep 165 gallons and 355-gallon drums. What plastic food safe ones that are kept inside an insulated shed. And I generally rotate the water every 3 months so that it's always fresh before I need to worry about treating it for longer term. I'd like to double that once I build something else next year. I'll double the capacity at least.
Right. How safe is that water if it's 2 months and 25 days and you've not circulated it, and that's when the water cuts off? Will it still be absolutely fine at that stage? Yeah,
it's absolutely fine. And even, I mean, there's no algae bloom. It's in a darkened, cooled shed, and the barrels are food safe. They are coloured as well, so you're not going to have any light anyway, so you're not going to have any algae bloom. And if it got past probably about 8 months to a year, right, I'd probably just then start looking at adding bleach.
Yeah. With the bleach, I did do a video on it. You have to go back and find it. It's about safely using the bleach in the water and what kind of bleach and stuff like that. Don't just get a bottle of bleach and squeeze it in. There's measurements and there's details. Go after this, go and check it out. It's on the channel. It's quite far back, but you'll see it's about water safety. It's quite an obvious thumbnail. Cool. So we're all sorted for water. Bob, you can ask questions without donations. It's it's getting ridiculous, but thank you. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Yeah, I think the right for people to keep and bear arms has been severely infringed in this country.
Yeah, but you have. Sorry.
No,
Brian?
carry on.
Yeah, in countries like I think it's Sweden, Finland, and Norwegian, they started now to build kind of people armies again. And in Germany, I think they had a plan to do this as well,
Yeah.
but I'm not 100% sure. So it could be that it's coming back in support of the regular army.
Yeah, there was talk of what do they call it? Not militia. What's the words I'm looking for? The citizen army. Oh, the brain's gone.
More or less that sort of home guard.
Yeah, but there's another word and it's gone. But carry on, Brian.
I'm guessing from Bob's answer statement that he's in the US. Unfortunately, the culture in the UK is, for reasons I've never understood, very, very anti-gun. But you still can own firearms in the UK. Well, it boils down to good reason.
Yeah.
And you're heavily restricted on caliber and quantity of ammunition that you may store.
Yeah. Yeah. People are trying to guess what I was on about. No, it's civil defense. Civil defense corps. That's what I was thinking of. Sorry, everyone started typing National Guard, Territorial Army, Civil Defense. Lady J's just come in with it, yeah, as well. I remembered when I saw the National Guard thing, but yeah, cool. We've got literally 2 more left in the pre-ones, so we'll have to get through them because I know it's late, guys. If you have to go, just leave. It's fine. It's not a problem. I didn't expect it to be so busy. Phil Whitehead 8706. Have you seen the film The End We Start From? I haven't seen any of the prepper channels talk about it or review it or anything. It's on Netflix. Anyone seen that?
Is that the one the guy's living in the porter cabin? It's a young kid. I don't know if I'm thinking of the same one.
Is that not The Survivalist?
I'm not. It's something's went wrong, and it's the young boy. He's living basically in shipping containers after his family have been killed after some unknown disaster. It doesn't get any great detail. It's a kind of low budget thing. I don't know if it's the same film he's thinking of.
It's on Netflix, so it can't be that low budget. So I tell you what, Phil, I don't know about the other 2, but I will find it and I'll watch it tonight or tomorrow. There you go. And I'll put a little. If I don't think it's worth a full video, I'll put a short video up to say what I thought of it. There you go. That'll be your answer. We're going to generalize this question, so don't panic, preppers. Don't worry about your OPSEC. What weapons could or would you arm yourself with in the UK? Now, I believe this is being asked by somebody that's not in the UK. That is why he's asking. So it's more surrounding the laws. So I'll generally say you can get a shotgun license, you can get a firearm certificate, you can get a black powder license. There's all different classifications in the UK. You've got to have good reason. You've got to be part of a shooting club, something like that. You've got to be a reenactor, any of the above there. And you can have these things. You can only store a limited amount of ammunition. With the black powder, it's very limited because technically that can make an explosive. But that is all based on a lot of check boxes being ticked. Generally, crossbows over 18 you can buy. bows over 18 you can buy. Same with swords, knives, anything like that. So the majority of the weapons will be primal weapons, as it were, rather than firearms in this country. Would anyone like to correct me on that or add to that?
I can only speak for Ireland so far.
Mm-hmm.
And in Ireland, crossbows are forbidden as well.
Mm-hmm.
And every air rifle, I think above 11 joule,
Mm-hmm.
is also forbidden. So
Yeah.
you are restricted to bows. Yeah, and that's it.
Yeah. Scotland, you have also different regulations on crossbows, right? You have to be registered.
No, that's air rifles.
I thought it was crossbows as well. Somebody told me, maybe.
No, not yet anyway.
All
Air
right.
rifles they brought in about 5 years ago, and they gave Police Scotland a heart attack because they to add it to the licensing scheme. So it caused a backlog when if you were applying for your renewals, it was causing a backlog. So if you're applying for a shotgun certificate, the air rifle's on the same form, right? So
Yeah.
if you're ever applying for a shotgun, you would apply for air rifle at the same time. The forms are essentially the same for a shotgun or a firearms license. The major difference is that you need 2 referees for a firearms license and it's 1 for a shotgun.
Mm-hmm.
And for a shotgun, you don't per se need to show good cause, because you're almost guaranteed the certificate unless you are not of good character. And if you're a member of a clay pigeon club or whatever, then you can get that.
Yeah.
Or if you've got land. There's no restrictions on the number of shotguns you can hold in a certificate, as long as you've got enough cabinet space. And it's something ridiculous like 32,000 shells on your cert. And you don't need to be in an approved safe as such, the shells. But firearms is entirely different. You need to show good cause per caliber. The police will tell you the number of firearms you can have for each caliber, generally 1. You need to apply for a moderator for the rifle if you want it. And they'll tell you how many rounds. So if it's 2-2 rimfire, it'll be max about 1,500 rounds. 7.62 or something like that, you'll be lucky to get 250 to 500. So it's heavily restricted. Handguns are not banned per se. It's just it's got to be over 23 inches. So the caveat to that is they put a ridiculous fake suppressor on it. It'll be huge, and then they put a forearm grip on it.
Mm-hmm.
So you could still get a Glock 17 or something in the UK, but it'll have a huge, big, stupid suppressor that doesn't do anything. It's just to hide the long barrel, and it'll have a forearm grip on it. So they're not banned; they're just heavily regulated.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think a lot of people just assume because they can't go into Walmart and buy one that we don't have them.
The last thing I would say on that is self-defense is not a good reason, and you'll never get one because a firearm's not a good reason for self-defense, nor should you ever mention it in such context with the police. And I do not condone it at all. Just for anybody that's watching for Police Scotland, I am a responsible person.
Yeah. We know that. Apart from your taste in Pepsi instead of Coke, everything else is okay. Kelly I says you can still buy air rifles. Dieseling is effective too. I saw it on YouTube, some exploding ammo. Does anyone know what dieseling is?
No, you can still buy a rifle in Scotland. You just need a license for it. You're going to jail.
Yeah. Okay. Roland, do you know what this dieseling is? It's something I'm going to have to look up.
No.
Yeah.
Maybe she means a Molotov cocktail?
Well, yeah. We're going back to improvised weapons there, but obviously we don't. You know, the only cocktails we want to have is mojitos, I'm sure. But yeah, that's interesting. I will look into that. Thank you for that. Tony says we have a citizen army. The government call them far right. There you go. Interesting statement with what's going on at the moment. Miss Worm has got the best weapon. She can fell a man at 50 paces with a stern look. There we go. I have no doubts. I don't think we've got any more questions. So if there's no more questions, guys, we are going to... Oh, there we go. Oh, before we go. Dieseling is applying WD-40 or Vaseline to the pellet. The air compression explodes the fluid like diesel engine, and the pellet can go through many inches of plywood. Wow. We don't condone this in any way. I'm just going to take that off the screen.
I was actually worried about it. When somebody says diesel, and it always sounds vaguely pornographic. And when there was Vaseline and WD-40 on that, I feared the worst straight away.
He says feared the worst. His eyes lit up, in other words.
Where can I find somebody that sells WD-40 at 20?
Yeah. You should always have WD-40 and gaffer tape in the house, because if it doesn't take one, it needs the other. That's the two-way to fix everything. Yeah, Dave has literally just emphasized the same sort of thing. Anyway, we're out of questions, so it's a good time to stop before more come in. We have done an hour and 40 minutes. I told these guys before they joined it would be an hour. Thank you. Bob has gifted a membership as well. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Bob has been splashing the cash tonight. We really appreciate you. Would you like some final thoughts, Roland, and say goodbyes?
I don't have any final thoughts. I can only tell everyone to get prepared as best as they can. Like I said the last time, if you're not started yet, start now. The best day was yesterday. The next best day is today.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Good advice. And we've obviously got a brand new prepper in the room as well. So, yeah, excellent advice there. Brian, final thoughts and goodbyes?
Yeah, I mean, don't think it's a problem to ever ask any questions. Most of the people on the group and on the forum that Michael post a link to, they're all fairly approachable, because if they weren't, they wouldn't be in the group to start with. We do not have all the answers. We can get things wrong. We're just one source. Find other sources as well. Canvass everybody's opinion, and then you choose what works for you, because it's going to be unique to what you think the risks are for you. And if you've got a question, ask and we'll try and help. And if we don't know, we'll say we don't know. Not going to bullshit you.
Yeah. That's the main thing, guys. I will say for my final thoughts is everyone that we invite to the Prepper Fireside, everyone that gets involved in the community on the forum is quite humble and quite of the same sort of thinking. So don't think as a brand new prepper, if you started yesterday, that we're going to jump on you and tell you you've got the wrong bag. The same applies to the prepper meet, the guys that I'm doing that with. Come on down, whether you've been prepping for a day or you've been prepping for 10 years, you can come and camp out for a tenner, or you can just come down for a day and see us and have a chat. Everyone's approachable. The forum is ukprep.co.uk. Other than that, thank you very much to Miss Worm for moderating the chats as usual. It only seems to go south our conversations when it's solar monitoring. It's stayed quite nice in here. Thank you to Thank you to Bob, the patron and the sponsor of this entire stream, with his donations. And thank you to all the members, all the subscribers, and all the likes. And we will see you all in the next one by the fireside.
Have a great one.
Bye.
Water stored in jugs and tins, bunkered down through thick and thin. Maps and routes all drawn and laid, preppers live unafraid. At the prepper's fireside we stay, ready for that fateful day. Stories shared and hearts alight, round the fire every night. In the glow of embers dance, we've prepared for every chance. Living simple, living true, with the dream we all pursue.